We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a live episode of Vikings Uncensored. Apologizing in advance. The internet issues that plagued us earlier in the week still seem to be bothering on my end of things. So if I'm choppy and pixelated a little bit, I apologize.
He doesn't really look like that in real life.
I look like garbage in real life. I look like garbage when maybe the pixelation's an improvement. I don't know. We'll see. But so we'll make do with it as best we can. It's kind of a harken back to the old days where Lance used to have all the internet issues and mine was good. Now it's the other way around. So
it's a Vikings Uncensored featuring Brunswick and Max Headroom tonight.
Yeah. Good evening, Doc, Dave, Ant, Barber, Disgusting Act, everybody over in the chat. Reggie, thank you for joining, everybody. Glad to have you on here as always.
It's been. It feels like it's been a long time since we've had a live episode. I haven't seen a lot of these people, in a while. So it's nice night. It's good to be here. The day before the big game, man, I'm excited.
Yep. And it's actually a good time to have a live show. It's fun to talk over some of this stuff since we do have the Super Bowl coming tomorrow. We're going to talk about that, and we're also going to talk about what we think the Minnesota Vikings have to do to get to the level of the San Francisco 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs and potentially play in this big game at some time in the hopefully near future, or at least before we all freaking die.
I think fighting the Philosopher's Stone might be a little bit easier than that, in my opinion, apparently.
Yeah. Maybe it's written in the runestones. Anyway, but of course, we got a bunch of news stuff, some off-the-wall rumor stuff that we're going to address just for the sake of addressing, and then a few other things along the way, and we'll do our prediction segment later on as well. Starting off, of course, Thursday night, I believe it was, the NFL Honors Banquet was held, where all the different, of course, coaching awards and player awards and everything were given out. To no real surprise, I guess, Lamar Jackson won the Most Valuable Quarterback award.
Second one?
Yeah. Personally, I don't know that I would have given it to him, but as we all know, 99% of the time it goes to a quarterback, so I guess. But what would you have given it to him, or did you have somebody else that you think was more?
I mean, I've heard rumblings about people being upset that Prescott didn't even get a first place vote. Granted, the stats and all that. I mean, Lamar had a great year. He's gotten better, since he came into the league as a rookie. Every single year he's been able to play. So I mean, it's just one of those things where he's one of those quarterbacks that just can't take the next step to get to the next height of where you want to be as an NFL player. He wants to get that ring. You can't get there. And there's been quarterbacks in the past that have had that issue as well, just taking it up a notch and getting your team into that next spot. But he hasn't done it yet.
I'm glad as Vikings fans, we have no idea what that's about.
Right. Up to this point. I mean, things will always get brighter, hopefully, you know what they say. So, but I mean, like I said, I think Dak could have got it too. You know, this year, I don't think there was really
I would have given
anybody
it to McCaffrey myself, but
that would have been another good choice as well. Yeah. This season though, I mean, there wasn't really a lot of great offensive outputs by some of these playmakers, and if there was, they were all, you know, kind of bunched up into one group, and they just decided to go with Lamar. So that's who ended up winning it.
hey, we have our Argentina connection in the house again tonight. Good evening, Damien. Glad to have you on board again. Got it. Everybody in the chat making me hungry, talking about all of the food that.
Yeah, I know Reggie Dak makes me laugh too, but you just you look at the stats and the numbers that he put up, and I mean, there's an argument there to be had. I'm not a big Dak stroker either, but I mean,
yeah, this disgusting act here. Yeah, there was a rumor out on the Twitterverse today that the Chicago Bears have significant interest in trying to steal Danielle Hunter away in free agency.
That'd be a nightmare. That would be a nightmare. It would be.
Yeah, that would be one of the last places I would like. I would like to see him go if he does not come back here.
Somewhere out of the division or out of the conference.
Yeah. But anyway, back to the awards. Kevin Stefanski, our old friend in Cleveland, won Coach of the Year, which
Good for him, man. Absolutely.
Yeah. He no, that's the second time he's won Coach of the Year since he left here. So.
Yeah, I know that that was my first initial thought, but I wasn't going to say nothing. But yeah.
No. I mean, but yet he still hasn't gotten any further in the playoffs than we have either. So there's that.
That's
too.
correct.
Then Offensive Player of the Year, since he did not get MVP, but Christian McCaffrey won that award.
Rightfully so. I agree with that.
Good point from Jared here.
Yeah, very good point.
Then Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett, who was deserving of it.
Yeah.
He had a hell of a year. Offensive Rookie of the Year, no real surprise here. C.J. Stroud got it.
Oh, Stroud. Okay.
Drew, D'Amico Ryans was Coach of the Year. I wouldn't have argued that if he would have won that either. Very deserving. I mean, he took the Houston Texans from being garbage to a playoff team in one season. I mean, having the second and third overall picks did hurt last year, but I liked D'Amico Ryans. I liked him when he was in San Francisco. You know, and he was under consideration for the job here.
Yeah.
He withdrew his name, from, you know, because he wanted to.
I was a fan of him as a player as well. I mean, he's you know, was a hell of a player, and now he's going on and it's translating as a coach as well. So I mean, I'm happy for him. I wish we could have got him, but
like I said, you know, with D'Amico Ryan, getting that point, he had the Offensive Rookie of the Year in C.J. Stroud. Also had the Defensive Rookie of the Year in Will Anderson.
That's how you go and win a draft right there. You know, for real.
Mm-hmm. He went full Sonny Weaver on that draft last year, or the Texans as a team did anyway.
As far as the last couple of years go, I think another one of the better drafting teams that we've seen firsthand and being in our division is the Detroit Lions, who have completely turned that franchise around within just a few drafts. You know, they went from being we've seen the elevation of the Lions even throughout Vikings Uncensored through the early years up. We knew that they were coming.
Yeah, but I mean, you pick top 10 for 20 years. Eventually, you're going to hit on a few guys. So.
But the thing is, they went and they picked the right guys finally.
Yeah. I mean, the front office and stuff they've got in there right now, and Dan Campbell. I mean, they're pulling the right levers over there right now. So.
Right.
Then beyond that, the Hall of Fame list was also unveiled this week. Of course, once again, no Jim Marshall. Jared Allen also snubbed for the
Well, I believe
second or
that the
third year
players did
now.
go that went in besides Jared Allen that were, edge rushers or, impactful defensive players. I believe they were rightfully inducted in, I would have liked to have seen Jared Allen go, don't get me wrong, but the ones that did get in deserve to be there as well.
Doc is pissed. But
Jim
anyway,
Marshall, I'd be side myself on, but yes.
Yeah, but of course, the two senior committee ones were Randy Grandishar, former linebacker for the Denver Broncos, made it in, and former Bear Steve McMichael, both deserving. Of course, Steve McMichael battling ALS. He got in at least before things got to be too bad. But yeah, basically the active committee or whatever, Dwight Freeney, Devin Hester, Andre Johnson, Julius Peppers, and Patrick Willis.
Yeah.
Dave here, Allen had better numbers than Freeney. Yeah, he did. I thought Allen should go in over Freeney. Not that Freeney doesn't belong in there, but I thought Jared should have gotten in there before that.
Yeah, that's the one that could have went either way, I think, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Good evening, Skull Mafia. Disgusting act, bag of treats, whatever, the last year's draft, nothing happened. Mongo should get in just for his WCW work. Yeah,
the first thought that went to my mind I was gonna say, did you all know that McMichael was a wrestler at one point after his career in there?
And that was he got out of wrestling when he started when that beginnings of the of his illness started coming in. So but yeah, he was had a good second career as a professional wrestler too,
and had done some acting work as well, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Jared Allen's mullet had better numbers than Freeney. Allen should have been the 3 pick. I would agree with that.
I love that Hester got in. I really do. That's a player I really, not ever being a Viking, that I really enjoyed watching. He got us a few times pretty good, but being a kick returner and the way they use him as a receiver he was an exciting player to watch, and he's deserving to be in the Hall of Fame.
But I mean, basically, he was as a kick and punt returner. It wasn't his work as anything else. It was that
right. I mean, just
good
player himself. Yeah, but he went in as a punt returner and kick returner, and rightfully so. Arguably the greatest of all time. So,
good evening, Stephen. The group's all coming in, filling in now. Sucks that the ring carries a lot of weight. Yeah, it does. Unfortunately, but. Then former Vikings news announced on Friday, former Vikings head coach Mike Zimmer is back in the NFL.
Back to his old team as well.
Yeah, returning to the Dallas Cowboys to be their defensive coordinator.
Interesting.
Dave and Darren talked about how Freeney got into the Super Bowl appearance and more national TV coverage at the time. Players get screwed for being small market. Very good point. And if you did not see that interaction between Dave and Darren Campbell, go check out Two Old Bloggers after you're done watching this over on Vikings First and Skull. Great show. Dave and Darren have been doing this for a lot of years and are a wealth of knowledge, so make sure you go check them out too.
Josh has a great point there at the bottom.
Sad the special teams have been doing it, especially kick return.
Yeah. Well, even kickers,
Yeah.
I mean, in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion, that they've been neutered. You don't see a lot of special teamers make it to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. No, Mongo was not Mongo in Blazing Saddles, Doc. Close enough, but then now we're into some Vikings news here now. First thing I just saw here before, wait a minute, Drew's got it something here. Jerry Jones wants his girlfriend at the free whiskey parties. You're probably not wrong there. Just saw this on the Twitter not too long before we hopped on the show here tonight. Dan Graziano from ESPN posted a tweet here not too long ago. Basically, the smoke screen and subterfuge and all that kind of stuff of the offseason's in full swing now. Graziano was reporting that the New England Patriots are likely looking to fill their quarterback needs via free agency and and are definitely open for business for potentially trading the third overall pick. And then Graziano mentions the Vikings and the Falcons as two teams to watch for going after that third pick. Stephen, what's the deal with Hawkinson? Had surgery a couple weeks ago. The reason for the delay in the surgery was they were allowing his MCL to heal on its own, which is pretty standard on this. I actually talked to an orthopedic surgeon guy on Twitter one day about this. I forget what his name was. I apologize. But he said that's a lot what they do a lot of times is because the MCL most of the times will heal on itself where the ACL won't.
Right.
So they let that heal first, then go in and repair the ACL, which is what they did for Hawkinson. What are we going to do for tight end? You're looking at Oliver, probably your tight end one.
Right.
You've got Munt if we bring him back.
I think Muse has a good chance of coming in and getting that number 2 tight end spot.
Well, and I wouldn't be surprised if we drafted a tight end at some point in time too. In the mid rounds.
Johnny Munt is a KOC guy. I wouldn't be surprised if he stuck around. I know he's a free agent this coming off season. But I would like to see Muse take that next step and snake up that second spot.
All right, I wasn't going to try to get into this right now. Let's hold on to this one for a little bit, Reggie. I got a couple other things we want to hit first. We'll do this when we talk about the stuff in a little bit here. Other Vikings news: Vikings signed former Broncos defensive line coach Marcus Dixon to fill the same position here, and also added outside linebackers coach to Mike Pettman's titles. So. Then a few. Now we're into the some of the ludicrous stuff. All good, Reggie. I just don't want to jump ahead of myself and forget some of this other stuff. The ludicrous stuff from the week. Starting off early in the week, there was a deal coming out about Kwesi using Pro Football Focus as part of the tools for.
A lot of people lost their minds when they seen that.
I mean, he's using the same tool that the other 31 teams use, and for some reason or another, Vikings Twitter lost their absolute freaking mind over it.
It's not the one tool that he uses. I guarantee.
No, it's not the only thing, and that's not what the story said, not what the thing said. But to coin the phrase from our buddies Drew and Ted over at Vikings Report, ESAT Nation people and the Anti-Kwesi Society just jumped on it, and Kwesi's over his head. Gotta fire his head. He's using Pro Football Focus to evaluate players. How the hell dare he do that stuff? I'd be more upset if he didn't use it. I mean, I've made no, secret about the issues I have with Pro Football Focus from time to time. But if I was a general manager or a scout or anything else, you're goddamn right I'd be using Pro Football Focus. They give a lot more stuff in there than what we see. Most of us see who are too cheap to buy the subscription for it.
Doc says it perfectly there. It's a tool, not the only tool that's available.
Exactly. And that's the thing. And you are doing malpractice at your job if you are not using every tool available.
If you're not exploring every avenue that you can when it comes to scouting out these college players.
You watch film. You watch the All-22s. You go watch these guys in person. You sit there. You break down the stuff. You have multiple people looking at it from multiple different positions. You use Pro Football Focus. You use all this stuff.
Kwesi just shows up to all these events and then he sits on the bleachers on his computer on PFF, and then that's how he does his scouting when he's there.
Drinking mimosas and so yeah, that was. But that wasn't the most ludicrous thing of the week. The most ludicrous thing I saw on social media all week long Colin Cowherd came out with an absolutely idiotic trade proposal. The Vikings trade with the New England Patriots. The Vikings get the 3rd overall pick in exchange for pick 11, a 2025 first rounder. That I could buy into that. But they also throw in Justin Jefferson.
It's not happening. It's just I wouldn't even.
Justin Jefferson is worth more than the 3rd overall pick on his own.
Yeah.
So we're throwing 2 other ones in. No,
that's a horrible take.
I mean, I know Colin Cowherd is a nothing more than a shock jock that just throws this off the wall crap out there to get views and clicks and everything else. But I don't know how some of these people can say these stupid takes with a straight face.
Yeah, it is what it is. That's why I just don't pay much attention to it, because it's not happening, man.
No,
it's not happening.
No. Apparently, Colin has a better weed hookup than Doc does. But then the other thing, of course, with Radio Row at the Super Bowl and stuff this week, Justin Jefferson making the rounds. Of course, he made a comment at one point in time where he wants to break the bank, but he wants to also be here and this and everything else, saying all that stuff. We have to see what breaking the bank means. I'm guessing probably around $35 million, but I'm still paying Justin Jefferson that because he's just that good.
Yeah.
But there was also a thing earlier. A lot of the Kyrgyzstan armies out there saying, Justin Jefferson will not play for the Vikings unless Kirk Cousins is here and blah 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 blah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Justin Jefferson was on NFL Network, and he was also on with Rich Eisen, kind of saying the base thing. They asked him on NFL Network who he thought was going to be throwing the football to him in 2024. Jefferson, I have no idea. It could be Kirk. It could not be Kirk. It doesn't matter who is going to be throwing me the ball. I'm always going to be the same type of player that I am.
Straight from the horse's mouth.
Yep. And then on Rich Eisen's show, he did say, that he would like to have Kirk back, and he, Kirk helped him get to where he is right now. So, which is, understandable.
Okay, speak. You're not going to say you don't want Kirk back.
No,
you're not going to say that.
No, I mean these guys like Kirk. They obviously like Kirk.
Right.
But when it comes down to it, it's a business. Are you going to pay Kirk 40 to 45 million plus Jefferson 35 million plus Danielle Hunter
and then you
million?
Look at the Kirk's age, you look at your organization, you look at all of that, and then you say what's best for the team moving forward. That's what you do.
Yep. All right. So anyway, with that, we're going to move on to again the meat and potatoes of the show. What do the Vikings need to do to get to the level of the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers and be playing in a major football game the second week of February? That was something we have not seen in most of our lifetimes. So the first thing on my list, what we have to do, I'm guessing it's high on your list too, is figure out the quarterback position.
Oh yeah, that's number one.
Whether it's,
absolutely.
I mean, whether we sign Kirk Cousins or not is irrelevant, because
that's been the biggest question mark on the Vikings list of things for the last how many years, man?
Yeah,
we went and got Cousins because we thought Cousins was going to be that guy. Well, 5-6 years later, and we're still sitting on our hands, on Super Bowl Sunday.
Right. So we'll start first. Like I said, regardless if we sign Kirk or not, we still got to look to the future, because they're not. If they do sign Kirk, it isn't going to be for more than a couple of years. So
my gut tells me that Kirk isn't back next year, but I mean, what do I know?
I don't think he is either. I think he's going to go where the money's the best, and right now I don't think that's here.
And I believe this is the year that we go and we get our guy, and we might pick up a free agent, to be a bridge guy, whether it be halfway through the season or in the beginning of next year. Or maybe we go get the guy and he balls out in the preseason. But to answer Reggie's question, I'll let you start with this one and I'll go from there.
All right. Just before I hit this one, though, Kirk was also on some show this week. I forget which one it was. They asked him about contract talks, whatever else. And Kirk basically said, "I've done all I need to do right now. We haven't heard anything yet. So either it's going to start at the combine or it's not going to start."
Speak it into existence. Funny.
All right. So Reggie's asking the question. You get the 3rd overall pick, and Drake May and Jaden Daniels are still there on the board. Who are you taking? You want me to go first? You got this one.
I'll go. I guess I'll go first. I would go with
All right.
Daniels. I'd go with Daniels. I like what I see out of the kid. His arm strength, is a little bit questionable, but I like the fact that he reminds me a lot of Jalen Hurts, to be honest. He's a little bit small, the frame's a little bit smaller, but he's got that height. But he wants to stay in the pocket and make plays, but he's also able to get outside of the pocket and make plays on a rollout or on the run and make plays with his feet as well. I mean, we've seen what Josh Dobbs could do in a small window with 2 weeks worth of good play. I believe that we could get a full season, and more, moving forward into the future out of Jaden Daniels. I mean, I like the upside that the kid brings. I believe he's able to start right away if we get him or not. This isn't no knock on Drake May. I like him too. The top 3 guys, I'd be happy with any one of them, but I would take Daniels is higher to me at this point than May is on my list.
For me, Drake May and Jaden Daniels are 1 and 1A. I'd be happy as hell with either one of them. There's some different skill sets there. Drake May, I think, when he breaks out of the pocket, when the play breaks down, he's still looking to throw a little bit more. When he's flushed, trying to make things happen. Daniels, when he tucks it and run, he's going to run. He's not looking to throw it once he tucks that ball. He's got a lot more run in him. He's got some of that Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields mobility and playmaking ability with his feet. But he's also, he threw for 3,800 yards and 40 touchdowns at LSU this past season.
I like what he does in the pocket as well. He's a much different quarter. Just because we have this guy to look at from the tape from last year, he's a lot better in the pocket than that Pasternak was earlier this year. He could make plays inside the pocket much better than Dobbs was able to make plays this season from the pocket.
Drew has the best question here. The better way to ask is, who does KOC want? He seems to like pocket guys. I think there is something to that, Drew, which I think maybe pushes it a little bit more towards the Drake May, or if we can't get May or Daniels, JJ McCarthy. He's been coming up the draft boards and the Vikings, and it's being mentioned more and more with the Vikings. I did hear today though that Darren Wolfson, KSTP, and Minneapolis sports beat writer for the Vikings, did make a comment that the Vikings, or that hearing from inside the Vikings organization, that there is at least a faction of the decision makers that are big fans of Jaden Daniels. Whether that's Kevin O'Connell, whether that's Kwesi, whether that's somebody else altogether, I don't know.
Basically, but my guys who I would spend money, spend draft capital for to go up and get our 4 guys as of right now. And those guys are, Caleb Williams. I know a lot of guys are on the fence on him right now and are kind of.
If we take Caleb Williams, I'm going to support the kid.
Yeah, this is in no particular order as well, by the way. Drake May, Jaden Daniels, are wait and see what we got with McCarthy going through the process first before we roll any dice on him. But I like his game as well. Would I move up to the 4th spot to get him as of right now? 4th, 3rd spot to get him as of right now? No.
I'm not taking J.J. McCarthy that high.
Right. Let's let the process play out and see what happens. But yeah, those are the 4 main guys I'm looking at as far as it goes. And I wouldn't touch. Yeah, I wouldn't touch Penix or Nix until at least the 2nd round if that's. And I think they're out of the question. I think if we get a guy, we're getting one of those 4 guys I just mentioned before.
I think you're right. I don't want to do this thing that the Vikings do every goddamn year, and it's just like, oh, 2nd round is here. Let's take a quarterback because there's one there.
No, it's either that or we find some reason to go out in the free agency and find somebody like Kirk Cousins or Brett Favre or whoever it might be to get us to the promised land that never works out either. We need to go up and get a guy at quarterback who we covet that's a playmaker for once in the Vikings history and take him high in the draft.
And that's my thing. We have never taken a quarterback in the first or in the top 10 since the existence of the franchise in 1961. Highest pick we've ever had on a quarterback is Dante Culpepper at 11, and then Christian Ponder at 12.
Yep.
We've only drafted 4 quarterbacks in the 1st round in the Vikings' existence: Culpepper, Ponder, Tommy Kramer, and Teddy Bridgewater.
And you build through the draft, Drew, and I get it. You don't want to give up all your draft capital because you want to go get this guy, but you be smart about it. You find a way to get up there and make it happen. I mean, you don't give away your entire draft, but you be smart about what you're trying to do when you go to get that pick. And if you really, really, really want the guy and think he's going to be a organizational type of player that's going to change the trajectory of this organization, you go get that fucking guy. Yep. You just do. You do.
Yeah, and it's been a very poor secret, or I guess whatever you want to call it, that the Vikings are not going to be shy about moving up if they can get up there to get one of the guys that they want. Ben Gessling was on Paul Allen's show a couple weeks ago, and he said just that. He said that the Vikings got to throw in a couple of extra 1st-round picks to go get the quarterback. He said they're probably not going to bat an eye on it.
And to go back to what you said about what it's going to take for the Vikings to get to that next step, I think a lot of talent on this roster is already here to get us there. It's just the way the chess game has been played has not allowed us to get there, and the talent is here to get to that point. I believe it's just putting it all together and getting there, whether it be what plays you're calling on any given Sunday or a competent play at quarterback. We got the talent here to do great things. It's just putting it all together and making it work.
Discussing Ack with a good point here, calling it a reach if you miss out on the top 3 but still pick a quarterback at 11. There's been a lot of talk.
Yes, 100% a disgusting act. Yes.
Yep. The last couple of weeks here GMAC made a comment here earlier too. If McCarthy gets to the Broncos, they're going to take him. I wouldn't be surprised at that at all.
We've done enough just settling for guys that happen to fall to us in the draft. We've done enough of that throughout the franchise history. Let's go get a guy that has been a game changer in college and somebody that we covet and have put the work in to figure out that, hey, this guy's going to do great things with the talent that he has around him, and go and get him. Not just take somebody that happens to be the leftovers or scraps of what other teams don't want,
Right. That, and with JJ McCarthy, I know I was pretty cold on McCarthy when this whole process started, but the more I start looking at this kid, it's potential. It's not realized stuff, and hearing.
Well, go ahead. Drew knows more about JJ McCarthy than anybody, I believe, talking right now on anybody.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
with that being said, with the pro style offense that he ran, he had a head coach that played quarterback in the NFL, coaching him along in his college career, and he's went on to win a national championship. And he's looked very good and done very good doing it. He's a good bet. He's a good guy to place your bets on as far as how he's going to look coming into the next league.
I mean, if you believe the talk that Jim Harbaugh has been saying out there with McCarthy, how much he's gushing about him. I saw something the other day, and it may not be that far off, that if the Chargers needed a quarterback at 5, that Harbaugh would take McCarthy there.
I was thinking that as I was talking as well. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if the Chargers needed a quarterback, that Harbaugh would take it, McCarthy.
No. Sarah's got a great point here on Michael Penix. As good as Penix looks, not comfortable drafting with all the prior injuries. It's a big gamble. It is.
It is.
Now, granted, with McCarthy, he has had 2 seasons in a row where he has not gotten really injured. I mean, he got dinged up against Texas and a little bit, and then, it didn't look that good in the championship game. But
and a couple other things that kind of bring up questionable things, the transfer that he had, as well, to a new college. And then as well as not being a young buck, really. He's right in the
24.
area of what's that?
He's 24.
24, yeah. But I mean, especially with, like you guys said, with the injuries, that's a huge red flag to me. And the fact that the letdown in the championship game, I expected to see more out of him when it meant the most.
Well, this is the key thing about Michael Penix here. Injury stuff aside, the biggest gripe on Michael Penix has always been he does not handle interior pressure very well. Where do the Vikings give up the most pressure?
That's a great point.
The freaking middle.
Yep.
So unless you're going to go out and get a Powers Johnson or a Van Pran or somebody like that, some big guy to stuff in the middle and get rid of Bradbury, Penix is going to struggle here because you're going to get him out. He's going to get out on the run. He's going to have to flush out of the pocket all the time because he doesn't do well stepping up into that pressure and making throws.
You don't want a guy that's got prior injury history like he does out there for the team that can't protect him the way he needs to be protected.
Yeah. Reggie, Harbaugh says he's good. He's good.
Yeah, put that comment about what Drew just said about me up again. Let me bask in that a little bit. Yes, I agree. I think somebody's going to get. I think his play in college is going to translate well to the NFL, especially when he takes a full grasp of what it's like to play in a professional league.
Might take him a little bit longer, but the potential's there, I think so.
But there's been other quarterbacks that we've talked about, not us personally, but that have been talked about in the past about, it might take this guy a little bit longer to do something in this league. And then come to find out he starts day one and lights it on fire. I'm not going to throw any names out there right now because I can't think of them offhand, but there have been instances where that has happened.
Nobody thought Patrick Mahomes was going to be Patrick Mahomes when he first came either.
He also sat a year, though, which a lot of people don't remember. He sat a year behind Alex Smith. But yes, when he was called upon and got that chance to start, he has lit it up ever since.
I think you mean McCarthy, but I get your point, Drew. Reggie's intrigued by Spencer Rattler. I don't want Spencer
Rattler. A little bit last week. Yeah,
I don't want Spencer Rattler. He looked good his first couple of years.
I was going to say coming out, there was a lot of hype on Rattler coming out, and then he just hasn't been able to put it together anywhere he's been, other than outside of high school. And then when he came into the college,
at South Carolina, he's been up, down. He's great one week, and then he looks like dog shit the next week. So
he's the type of quarterback that if we were going to do what we've done in years past, he's probably the guy that we would take a rain check on, possibly.
I think Spencer Rattler is a guy that you're going to draft if you're looking for a backup quarterback that could maybe step in and be a spot starter down the road.
Fourth round sounds about perfect for Rattler.
He's not a guy that I'm going to put my eggs in the basket of. We already got one of those guys in Jaron Hall.
Though he does have a pretty cool last name. I'll give him that.
Yeah. The name gets him. So the name will get him into the late third. But anyway, I don't want to spend the rest of the night on the quarterbacks. I want to get on to the next one here. Rebuilding the trenches is my next list here. Not only on the, specifically on the defensive side, but also.
I like, both sides. Yeah.
Yeah.
The deep. Go ahead. I'll let you take it away. You had the list. Yeah.
I guess, my thought on this, we have nobody on the defensive line other than Harrison Phillips that really is any kind of a difference maker at all.
Yeah, we have a group of guys that play well as a unit, but we don't have a guy.
Right. And Ryan, you can keep posting that all night long. I'm not putting it up on the screen. So, but I think defensive line is someplace that we probably look at in free agency as a big signing, like Christian Wilkins out of Miami down there. He's a Flores guy, would be perfect fit in here. And if Miami does not re-sign him, I think he stands a very good chance of coming in.
That if the potential of a Wilkins signing here would be just as big to me without the draft capital as a Jared Allen signing coming to Minnesota. That is how much of an impact Wilkins would have here on this defensive line, in my opinion.
And we also need to start looking in at, potentially if we don't trade up for a quarterback, there's guys in there. You've got, the Newton kid out of Illinois that's looking at.
He's a nose, right? He's a pure nose, right?
He's more of a nose. Yeah, he's a bigger dude. You got both kids out of Texas, Sweat and Murphy Jr.
I would love me some Sweat.
There's a lot of Sarah Jared Allen was acquired by
without the draft capital and all that. I'm saying this the impact alone with Wilkins coming in would be that of a Jared Allen like when he came in.
GMAC defensive tackle needs to come in free agency. I think so too. I think you need to have an established guy there. We can't necessarily rely on a rookie coming in and setting the world on fire right away.
We used to be really good at bringing in defensive tackles through the free agency. And the last 2 or 3 that we brought in have been kind of meh. Pierce was here a couple of years back. And then, Harrison Phillips, he had a great year this year, had a much better year than he has had. And I love him as a human being in person. But I expected more out of him as well.
Yeah. So, not only on the defensive side of things, we also need to look at the offensive side of things. Right now, of course, Dalton Reisner is a free agent. Talk about him, re-signing him. Myself personally, I'd like to see him back.
Yeah, Fat Pat, number 94, I believe, is the number there, Doc.
I don't think that's the number Doc was looking for. But we got to find somebody bigger and stronger at center. It's wrap. Good evening.
Yeah, granted, Bradbury's play has gotten better by baby steps, I believe, and it seems like every offseason he's getting blown up at training camp. And
he still gets blown up by those big physical interior defensive linemen.
They bully ball Bradbury all the time, and that's a big, red flag sitting right there in the center of your line. Yeah,
your Kenny Clarks, your Dexter Lawrences, those kind of guys. He always has problems with those guys. We need somebody up front that's going to help plug that center up, especially if you're going to have a young quarterback behind you.
Yeah, and that, how much that goes into the run game as well.
Yeah,
a hell of a lot. You get that guy up front that's going to be able to push guys around. That's going to help out your running game as well.
And that's a good segue into the next one. The next one I have on the list is getting more creative and better balance on your offensive play calling.
A lot of that had to go with, I believe, not having the stability of a number one running back. Honestly, this whole running back by crew did not work very well, and eventually we figured out that, what we knew, Ty Chandler was the best running back out of the crew, and then we finally let him shine later on in the season. But I believe if you get a chance to go out and get, at the right price in free agency, somebody like a Saquon Barkley or Josh Jacobs, You take it. You take it at the right price. That would be nice.
The problem is those two guys are still going to want $10 million plus a year, I think.
It's to be seen, but yeah, you're most likely right.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of rookie running, got kids in the draft, the running backs that you can get in that. Granted, we don't have a third round pick, but fourth, fifth round somewhere in there that are good backs. You got the Blake Corums of the world, the kid out of Oregon, Bucky. I forget his last name right now, but good evening, AJ. Yeah, so there's a bunch of kids. I haven't really done a ton of work on the draft or the running backs yet, but
to say the least, though, running back is definitely a huge need here for us, depending on what Chandler continues to develop going forward. I like what I see out of Chandler this year.
But Bucky Irving, thank you, Drew.
But it is a need, and it showed this season how much of a need not having a competent running game can be detrimental to your offense.
Mm-hmm. And then the play calling, we've harped on Kevin O'Connell quite a bit about the play calling. We got to get in there with that killer instinct and go put these guys away.
Quit dialing it back. Let it go. What's getting you to where you continue to stick with that. And a lot of that segues into game management, and making decisions throughout the game as well. But yeah, play calling, it's there, but you need to continue to do what gets you to where you got. Once you get the lead, continue to keep firing on all cylinders, whether that be running the ball or passing the ball. Just continue to call the right plays and not dial it back to where you're playing, conservatively, like
right,
uber conservatively at critical points in the game.
Yeah. Then the last one I have on my list anyway is solidify the secondary. Most importantly, the cornerback position. I think we need to get some veteran experience back there. Other than we have Byron Murphy, of course, but we got all those young guys that were back there trying to fill holes, and some guys with some size. Pretty much everybody we got back there is 6 foot or shorter.
Yeah,
and you're going up against 6'3", 6'4". I mean, that's what happened at the when Flores' defense got exposed at the end of the year. They realized that you could go just pitch it deep, and our guys couldn't go up and
get it over these smaller guys. Yeah, we don't have a true tall guy on the outside that's shutting down number one receivers because they can match up the same height and same
right. Because you're putting a 5'11", 5'10", 5'11", 6 foot guy up against a 6'4" wide receiver.
Yeah, and as a fan, when you're watching the replays as the game is in real time, and you see the corners, he's just a hand's length away from making a play because he's not quite tall enough to get up there. He doesn't have the vertical to get up to the the balls way up.
We saw that how many times where it was just out of the off the fingertips, or just that much.
Good coverage, just not enough length.
Yeah, it's at the old cliche. It's a game of inches. It literally was a lot of times with our cornerbacks. If they were an inch or two taller.
I thought Caleb Evans played admirably at times, and I thought Blackman played considerably better as the years went on and got more snaps.
The biggest gripe I have with Blackman was that game against Cincinnati where he just stood there and watched Tyler Boyd go and.
I tell you what, Ryno, I guarantee you he wishes he could take that one back.
Oh, I'm sure he does.
It. Now, whether or not he goes and fixes that mental blunder that he had in this game that one time, then let's just hopefully he takes the high road and he next time he finishes the play.
Yeah. Jared, of course.
Great, Jared. I'd love to have Mason Winfield Jr.
I wanted Winfield Jr. when he first came out in the draft, but we took Vlad
were
instead.
Both upset about that.
Yeah.
Most of the Vikings fans were upset that we didn't get Winfield Jr. when he was a rookie.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, we're probably going to need help at cornerback because I still expect Harrison Smith one of these days to just be announced that he's retired.
Skull Mafia as well. Blackman will be better year 2.
I think he will too. I mean, I was real big on Blackman coming in last year. Yeah, would like to keep Metellus in his role. Metellus is going to be in that role. I mean, Metellus played every spot on the defense last year, I believe, except nose tackle.
Swiss Army knife for that defense for sure.
And I think Flores is going to keep him at, doing what he does best. Cam Bynum continuing in the role he's at. So if Harrison Smith is not back, which he won't be back at current salary, we do have to get somebody else.
What I'd like to say is that I believe Metellus' best play is still ahead of us. I think despite what he did this year at his position or whatever position that may be that he played, he's going to be even better next year as well too, I think.
I agree with that, Skull Mafia.
100%, much better, yes.
Yeah, there was a couple of instances of that, GMAC. And there again, some of that is with the young guys, but probably not.
Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with learning on the fly and being young and being out there. That once they believe in their self and the game plan, that will all be. These guys are still young. That's the basic point of what I'm getting at. That will continue to get better.
And that's the thing. It's you're going to see a lot of these guys take a jump in year 2, year 3. It's
and a lot of the times those big plays that were made, it's not that the coverage wasn't there. It's just the play went in the opposite, not in our favor. The coverage is always pretty good throughout the season. It's just making that play, knock the ball out, or to turn it over, or to not allow the receiver to make the catch. That's just it. The coverage is there. It's still getting there.
Right. All right.
And whether that means that we bring in a veteran guy like Ryno said, or go out and find somebody in the draft, whether it may be, you need to do what's best for the team. So.
Right. Yep. You got any other positions or anything?
No, your list wrapped it up perfectly. I agree with all of that. We maybe use another young buck at linebacker would be a good idea, but I mean Hicks isn't getting any younger, is what I'm saying, and he played great.
And Hicks is a free agent. We don't know if he's coming back either. So,
and like I said, one of the biggest disappointments to me was Asamoah. How is he gonna be part of the plan moving forward as far as getting snaps, or is he somebody that's just not gonna get to where we thought he would be?
Right. And I was really shocked that he had such a little impact this year. I expected big things out of him.
I know. Of course, Stefano mentioned last week that Asamoah dealt with a myriad of injuries throughout the season that started at the beginning of the year that just really never cleared up.
Right. There is that. So anyway, so if that's all you got on that one, we are going to move on to the predictions segment. Of course, we've been going through, since there are no NFC North games to pick this week, we'll pick that one other game that's going on tomorrow evening. Kicker, get rid of Greg. I agree with that one too, Chair.
That's a great point. Yeah, kicker for sure. Kicker. We talked about that last week, though, but yeah, that's on the list for sure. I absolutely agree. That'd be great to get figured out.
So
you bet.
We have, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers playing at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. Lance, I will give you the floor, and you give me your pick tomorrow.
I think the most pressure for the Super Bowl tomorrow is on the Chiefs' shoulders, to go in there and win the second consecutive championship. And man, I don't know. If I'm picking who I want to win, and obviously my team is not in the Super Bowl, I'd love to see the Niners pull it out and get the win and get to win the Super Bowl. But you can't count out Mahomes, man. It's just magic.
And that's the thing. I mean, the Brock Purdy thing's always been a good story. Mystery irrelevant, all that.
Great coaches too. Two great head coaches meeting up in this game as well.
It's always been kind of the Kyle Shanahan thing about being able to close it out at the end of the season. He's got that one step.
I'm so happy for Andy Reid. I'm so happy for Andy Reid because after years and years of just needing to get over the hump, because with the Eagles, he was a great head coach as well. A great head coach with the Eagles. And then when the transition to Kansas City, and then with that pick of Mahomes, even before Mahomes, he had turned that Kansas City organization around. Not that it was Super Bowl contention, but Andy Reid, man, one of the greatest of all time to do it at head coach.
Yeah, and to your point, we were writing the Chiefs off at the end of the season. This isn't the same Chiefs team we've seen in years past, and this and that and everything else.
It's not, though. It's not the same Chiefs team. But you can't count out Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Right,
and that's the thing. Once they got into the playoffs, they're like, they're going to have to go on the road this year. This is Buffalo's chance to knock them off.
And that's what those greatest teams do of all time. They find a way to make it in the playoffs, and once they get to the playoffs, they just take it to that next level.
Yep. And that's exactly what Kansas City did. They kind of coasted for part of the regular season, got in, and they're like, okay, time to go. And
time to be kings again, man, for sure. Yeah, and they did, and they were. So, and they set the benchmark right now in this era of football. They set that benchmark of what you want your team to be, as far as through and through.
Folks that never watched the games, hardcore fans. Of course, that's to do with somebody that'll be up in the press box that I'm not going to mention the name of because I don't care, and I don't want to get off on that rant. But I'm going to go Kansas City as well on here. I think. G-Man, great point here, great run. Don't think it's going to overtake New England what they did, but they're feeling it. I mean, this is Super Bowl. This will be their third win here.
Right now. It's getting to the point right now where you can put that Kansas City dynasty right up next to that New England dynasty, and it's getting to the point where it's getting to be pretty comparable. And then you could put up Patrick Mahomes in his, younger years up until now against Brady in his younger years up until now, and it's an argument for another day, for real.
Yeah, I mean, they're two completely different styles of quarterback, but the results speak for themselves. I mean, people are starting to get Kansas City Chiefs fatigue, and they're starting to get annoyed with, teams that are there every year. We had it with the Patriots. Now we're having it with Kansas City. But I think Kansas City wins this, and I think it's going to be a fairly close game because, San Francisco's defense is good enough to.
People get sick of it, then fucking somebody come out here and beat them then,
Right.
That's just it. Beat him.
That's just it.
You got to beat the best to beat the best. You got to beat the best to be the best.
To be the man, you got to beat the man.
I was quoting Ric Flair for sure. Trying to badly, but trying to.
Yeah. At least you tried.
Yeah. Woo!
Woo!
That's right.
All right. So we both got Kansas City, I guess. I'm more looking forward to
San Francisco's going to win, but I believe that it's Kansas City's game to lose, for real.
I'm the same. I think I'd rather see Kansas City win it, but I think I'd rather see San Francisco but I think Kansas City's winning.
Yeah, and they're the Kings, man, and that's the way. If you're not a fan of either team, that's the way you should look at it.
Yeah. I'm going to be more interested in seeing if there's any good commercials this year, plus all the food that they're making. Got some wings and some my specialty stuffed jalapeno poppers going on tomorrow, and a bunch of other stuff.
Look at what Mahomes has done this year in Kansas City without any semblance of a good receiver whatsoever as the number one guy. They're all like number twos or number threes anywhere else in the league.
Right.
So, I mean, that's how important it is to find. I mean, Patrick Mahomes type of players don't come around, once but every 10 years. But if you get a chance to get that guy, and it means you going up to get him, then you do it.
Right. I agree. All right. Well, we've been going on an hour here now, so I think we are going to call it a night. Thank you guys for joining us on a special Saturday edition. We had
thankfully your internet hung it out with us, and we didn't have too many issues there.
Yeah. We had a lot of people in the chat tonight. Really appreciate you guys all joining in. And coming from as far as Argentina, of course, we got the Filipino fan club, Noy, and everybody over there. Thank you guys for watching as well. I know you're watching tonight too. Everybody, Vikings fans around the world, everybody joining in. We really appreciate it. Love talking live with you guys. I mean, we're going to try to do as many live shows as we can just because we love this interaction so much. Beyond that, everybody have a great Super Bowl Sunday. Eat a lot of food. I'm jealous about the stuff Reggie's making already, as always. But I'm going to put my barbecue skills to use as well tomorrow. So looking forward to that. With that, you guys have a great weekend. And Lance, why don't you take us out of here?
Yeah, you said it best, man. It was great having you guys here tonight. I always love the discussion with the people that watch the show, that take the time out of the day to come and watch us. It's awesome. Nothing better, than talking about our favorite team, the Vikings. That's why we do this show. And just like you guys all said down there in the comments, once before I die, that's what it's getting to be as a Minnesota fan. In all aspects of sports, not just the Vikings. I mean, come on, let's go get some championships in this state. But with that being said, let's hope let's all be safe tomorrow and have a good time enjoying the game with friends and family. And we'll see y'all next week. Skol.
Have a great weekend, guys. Don't forget to hit that like button on the way out as well. And with that, we'll see you guys later.